What's up, your boy Vaughn? Another reaction. In today's video, we have what happened to every chosen one of Vince McMahon by WrestleFusion. Roman Reigns was most definitely a chosen one by WWE. They over pushed that nigga. What another nigga? Alberto Del Rio a little bit. In like 2011, that nigga won the Money in the Bank, the World Title, like what
into the biggest
WWE Championship, like.
Wrestling company on the planet, and along the way, he handpicked certain guys he believed would carry the company into the future. Some of them made it, most of them didn't. From WrestleMania main events to failed careers, this is what happened to every chosen one of Vince McMahon, starting with none other than Drew McIntyre. In 2009, Vince McMahon walked onto SmackDown and told the world that Drew McIntyre was his handpicked future of the WWE. That was as big a stamp of approval as you could get in wrestling, but along with it came responsibility. McIntyre was only 24. He debuted on the main roster, and Vince's endorsement gave him powers no other mid-carder had. When SmackDown general manager Teddy Long tried to punish him, Vince would overturn it on camera. The guy literally could not be fired, at least on screen. He won the IC title at TLC.
I think Vince McMahon had a crush on some of these niggas. Like he just liked tall, big niggas. Like I feel like he had a crush on some of them. Y'all think so? Because he is a pervert.
2009 had a
I don't know, like tall, athletic niggas just got him off, got his rocks off, I think.
tag team run with Cody Rhodes, and the sky seemed to have no ceiling. But then the downfall began. The Nexus attacked Vince on Raw and wrote him off TV. And without that protection, Long stopped taking McIntyre's nonsense. The losses piled up, creative dried up. By 2012, Drew McIntyre was in a comedy faction where he lost every week alongside Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal. He went from chosen one to glorified jobber in 3 years. He's admitted since that it wasn't just bad booking. McIntyre believed the hype too early and developed an attitude backstage that didn't help his cause. By June 2014, WWE released him. He packed up and went back to the indie circuit as Drew Galloway and spent 3 years rebuilding himself from scratch. He won titles in TNA, ICW, and Evolve. He reinvented everything from his look to his mindset. When he returned to WWE in 2017, he was a different person entirely. He won the NXT Championship, then made it to the main roster and kept climbing. At WrestleMania 36, Drew...
Y'all think that nigga gonna go to AEW? That nigga still getting hold to this day. Like, he lost to Jacob Fatu. Even though I like Jacob Fatu more than Drew McIntyre. Jacob Fatu actually funny.
McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar and became WWE champion. He won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 40.
But I fuck with Drew though. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with Drew.
In 2024, McIntyre has had amazing feuds with Punk, Reigns, and as of early 2026, McIntyre is one of the most consistent performers in the WWE. He won his third WWE Championship in January 2026 on SmackDown, beating Cody Rhodes in a 3 stages of hell match. The prophecy came true.
He only won that shit because Cody was injured, right?
For Drew McIntyre. It just took 12 years to get there, but while Drew eventually proved Vince's faith was justified, the next guy on this list had every opportunity to do the same and watched it all collapse the moment Vince left.
I'll be popping bottles, Theory P.U.
Austin Theory signed with WWE in 2019 and worked his way up through NXT. But what really launched him was a conversation he had with Vince McMahon backstage. Theory recalled Vince calling him in, grilling him about his passion and work ethic, and deciding right then that this kid had something. From that moment on, Theory became McMahon's pet project in a way nobody had been for years. Vince appeared in segments with Theory, gave him career advice, and consistently put him in top segments. It was the kind of treatment that made the entire locker room take notice. At WrestleMania 38, Theory was in a segment with Stone Cold Steve Austin himself. After this, the accolades kept coming. Theory became a United States champion. He won the Money in the...
Austin Theory, how you feel being next to a pervert, a weird nigga kissing that pervert ass to get pushed? Kissing a pervert ass to get pushed.
Bank in 2022. He even defeated John Cena at WrestleMania. On paper, this was a generational push, but then Vince McMahon was gone, Triple H took over creative, and the downfall began. Theory botched his cash-in attempt on Seth Rollins and lost. He was paired with Grayson Waller in a tag team.
Y'all think Austin's Theory still talk to the nigga Vince or nah? He was about just doing his job, you know what I'm saying, getting on the good side with the boss, or he could get pushed, get the titles.
Without direction. Then in December 2025, he was revealed as the masked man helping the Vision. Where Theory goes from here is genuinely unclear. The talent was always there. What he never had was the ability to connect with audiences without Vince manufacturing it for him. And now that the machine is gone, he's trying to figure out who he is without it. But before Theory, before McIntyre, there was one man Vince handpicked to be the next Hogan. By 1993, Hulk Hogan had left WWE and Vince McMahon needed a new all-American hero fast. He landed on Lex Luger, a physically imposing specimen who had been a decorated champion throughout the late 80s. Luger actually came to Vince's orbit a year earlier when McMahon launched the World Bodybuilding Federation, a side venture that went nowhere and lost a reported $15 million. When the WBF folded, Luger crossed over to WWE and debuted at Royal Rumble 1993 as the Narcissist, a vain, arrogant heel who posed in front of mirrors and used a steel plate in his forearm as a weapon. Once Hogan was out, Vince flipped a switch. On July 4th, 1993, in one of the most memorable moments of that era, Luger arrived by helicopter on the USS Intrepid and slammed the 600-pound Yokozuna. The Lex Express was born.
Man, they go doing weights.
A red, white, and blue bus that toured the country as Luger campaigned for his shot at the WWF Championship. Vince was all in. This was his guy. The problem was that the fans weren't all in. The cheers were there, but they were manufactured, not organic. Bret Hart, who was being kept out of the main event picture to make room for Luger, was getting louder reactions. McMahon even admitted it years later in his Netflix docuseries, saying they put the entire machine behind Luger and it still didn't work. He was nowhere near Hulk Hogan. At SummerSlam 1993, Luger got his shot at the title. He defeated Yokozuna, but by countout, meaning the belt stayed with Yokozuna. According to Bruce Pritchard, Vince had held the title change off because Luger wasn't drawing the way he'd hoped and wanted to save the moment for WrestleMania 10 at Madison Square Garden. By the time WrestleMania arrived, Bret Hart had become too popular to ignore and won the title instead. Luger was done as a main event act. He spent the rest of his WWE run in the mid-card and quietly faded into the background. Then in August 1995, his contract expired and he left without telling Vince. 1 week later, he showed up on Nitro, in what became one of the most shocking moments in wrestling's Monday Night Wars. Luger had more success back in WCW, but his personal life was unraveling. Substance abuse issues followed him for years, and in October 2007, he suffered a spinal stroke on an airplane that left him nearly quadriplegic. Doctors described his condition as close to permanent. He couldn't move his arms or legs. His life as he knew it was over. But what happened next is actually the most remarkable part of his story. Diamond Dallas Page took Luger in and put him through years of yoga rehabilitation. By February 2025, Luger could stand up from his wheelchair unassisted. Vince McMahon's chosen one never won the title. He left the company without saying goodbye. He nearly lost the ability to move entirely. And somehow, at 67 years old, his real-life fight is more inspiration than his wrestling
look how that nigga lost all that muscle mass. That nigga was on overweight.
Career ever was. But while Luger's character was of an all-American hero, this next chosen one of Vinnie Mac was dominant foreign heel. Vladimir Kozlov spent time in Ohio Valley Wrestling, won the OVW Heavyweight Championship, and by 2008 was called up to SmackDown. His entrance was striking.
Nigga looked like Gunther a little bit. This is what Gunther was supposed to be. He was supposed to be Gunther.
And Vince McMahon loved the look. WWE went all in. Kozlov ran through jobbers.
I'm telling you, he like big, tall niggas. Vince, that boy Foodie, he's zesty.
For months without losing. They built the undefeated streak slowly. He picked up wins over names like Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker. By late 2008, he had earned a WWE Championship match against Triple H at Survivor Series. But the match was a disaster. The crowd never bought Kozlov as a threat, and the core problem was painfully obvious to everyone watching. The man could not talk. At all. His promos were wooden to the point of being uncomfortable, and his moveset was so limited that even fans who wanted to get behind him didn't have much to latch onto. Vince had fallen in love with the look and the resume without checking for the other essential ingredients. After that Survivor Series disaster, Kozlov was quietly moved to ECW. He formed a team with William Regal and Ezekiel Jackson, but that faction fell apart within months. When ECW folded in early 2010, he landed on Raw and ended up doing comedy segments with Santino Marella. The two of them made
that nigga into a jester.
An unlikely duo that got over with crowds purely on charm. And they actually won the tag team championships in December.
But I'm gonna keep saying, them tag titles were so ass, but them bronze type, them titles suck.
2010. But everyone knew what it meant. Kozlov had gone from Vince's monster main eventer to a goofy sidekick in 2 years. He was released in August 2011. But Kozlov's post-WWE career has been more interesting than his wrestling days. He transitioned into acting, with stuntman roles in John Wick 2 and Fast and Furious 6. He also works in business and production in Miami. He showed up briefly in Impact Wrestling in late 2023, but his in-ring days are far behind him. However, around the time Vince was running the Kozlov experiment, a certain Irish powerhouse would catch his attention. Sheamus debuted on ECW in 2009 and was barely on anyone's radar. He
I ain't gonna lie, Sheamus was fire. I still want to hit that nigga with that kick. What is country called? A broad kick?
almost didn't make it. Early on, WWE management told him to improve or he'd be released. But then something clicked. Sheamus debuted on
Nigga gotta be the greatest ginger ever.
on Raw and started running through the competition. He attacked Jamie Noble, Jerry Lawler, and anyone who looked at him wrong. At TLC in December 2009,
Damn, that nigga white as fuck. Sheamus white, nigga whiter than John Cena. He white as hell. This nigga
just
genuinely picked, bro. Look at this nigga.
166 days into his main roster career, Sheamus beat
Nigga ass is like cooked chicken. Nigga like chicken skin. Like what the fuck?
John Cena in a tables match to become WWE champion. He was the first Irish-born world champion in company history, and he had done it faster than almost anyone in the history of the title. Vince was sold on him. The look was unique. He beat Cena. He feuded with Triple H. He became WWE champion before most people even knew who he was. And in the years that followed, he kept climbing. The Royal Rumble, multiple US title reigns, and a massive 4-year tag team run with Cesaro as the bar. But
Sheamus still. Damn, when's the last time I seen Sheamus? Like, hold on, we better look Sheamus' name up right now. Like, I know the nigga was helping Speed, teaching Speed how to wrestle and shit. Like, dang. So this nigga just be training the niggas now? Like, what the fuck? Oh, he had an injury or something? Or he just... Yeah, I guess this nigga don't... Nigga just training now.
here's the thing that plagued his entire career under Vince's watch. They never committed to a single version of him long enough for it to stick. 1 month, he was a dominant killer heel. The next, he was dancing around doing Irish jokes as a babyface. They gave him the world title in November 2015, but that reign lasted barely a month before Reigns won it back. Today, Sheamus remains one of the most decorated wrestlers in WWE history. He's nowhere near the main event or the level Vince dreamt of him, but he's still putting on bangers
Yeah, mid-Carter.
every now and then. But while Sheamus's monster main event push fizzled out in months, this next chosen one of Vince kept getting pushed for years until the fans had no choice but to acknowledge him. In 2012, CM Punk pitched the idea for The Shield to WWE management. His plan was for 3 guys to act as his hired guns: Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Cassius Ohno. Instead, Vince replaced Ohno with Roman Reigns, and The Shield was born at
We're supposed to be getting Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. We should have got that like multiple times, but this nigga Vince McMahon was booking this nigga so terrible. We all would have left WWE if we were Dean Ambrose or John Moxley. They had a segment where this nigga got a shot in his ass while looking at the camera. Like,
Survivor Series 2012. For 2 years, the trio was the most dominant force in the company. Reigns specifically stood out as the powerhouse, the physical centerpiece of the group who annihilated opponents with spears and powerbombs. Vince watched all of it and made a decision to make Roman Reigns the next face of the company. After the Shield broke up in 2014, Reigns was immediately launched into the main event. He won the 2015 Royal Rumble, was put in the WrestleMania main event
like
again.
y'all think any of these niggas still talk to Vince or call the nigga and check up on him? Bro, that nigga Vince when goes after them 5 years came out, we haven't seen Vince's face in a while. Like, I don't know what this nigga like.
Against Brock Lesnar and became WWE champion
For the nigga in the damn fucking nursing home in a hospital bed getting fed through a tube.
multiple times over the next several years. On paper, it looked like a massive success, but in reality, it was one of the most polarizing runs in wrestling history. Fans rejected the idea of Reigns as the next John Cena, booing him out of buildings while simultaneously cheering Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins. The harder Vince pushed, the louder the boos got. This cycle continued for years through world title reigns and Mania main events. But when Reigns returned in 2020, something was different. Paul Heyman took over as his manager, Reigns turned heel, and the Tribal Chief was born. Gone was the smiling babyface who never quite fit. In his place was a paranoid, manipulative mob boss who bent his own family to his will and held the undisputed WWE Universal Championship for 1,316 days. The Bloodline storyline became the best long-term story WWE had produced in years. He finally lost the title to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, but even today, Roman Reigns remains one of the biggest stars in the company. He's the OTC, the head of the table. He's defeated everyone from Brock Lesnar to The Undertaker to John Cena himself. However, not every wrestler had the booking influence to get a win over Super Cena. Some wrestlers lost to Big Match John and their career never recovered. And if you want to find out what happened to every wrestler...
Well, we reacted to that already. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna do is acknowledge me.